Good day. I was looking up those executive orders. I saw that another one was passed or signed. Well, I know when the midterms come, we really need to have a plan. That's gonna look totally different. The midterms are wow. This is gonna be everything is just fucked up. Oh man. Oh, it's been a beautiful day today. I'm so thankful that I stayed up. Went ahead and got on here. We're going to be finishing Malcolm's book, By Any Means Necessary. We're going to finish this tonight. Good day and gratitude. Thank you so much for getting me started. Yes, I be needing a little push to get started. But yeah, I can finish this tonight. Yeah, we're going to finish this tonight. I really wasn't going to say nothing, but what is this? Oh, good day, Vicky. Good day. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here, for your presence. Thank you. Because I know it's difficult for us and stuff, to be able to give our attention to us and what we doing that's positive. Now we can give our attention to us if it's entertaining and it's really not thought provoking. We can do that. But when it comes to something, meaningful, it's very hard for us to settle down and get into that and stuff. But we all need to on some level, however it is. That's why it's very important. I was so happy when I saw those cartoons of Neely Fuller, and then there's one of Dr. Francis Cress Wellesley, and I thought that was so brilliant. And next thing I know, a few days later, I started seeing Judge Judy as the little bitty baby. And so, I just feel like we got to go harder. We got to go harder to make sure our babies get this knowledge and stuff. We got to be creative with it. These glasses is hurting my motherfucking face. Shit. But we're going to read tonight. Yeah, we're going to finish. Yeah, we're going to finish Malcolm's book. Yes, we are. Okay, so let's get started here. I got me some alkaline water today. I usually just drink spring water when I buy water. If I don't have it, then I usually won't drink none. But yeah, that's our brother right there. That's our savior. Yep, Malcolm X. We all know him. We all love him. He and all of us. He resonating with all of us. Malcolm is. Every last one of them are. Our ancestors are resonating with us, honey. Sure will. If anybody got a reason, to come back here and settle things, it's our ancestors. It's our ancestors. And if anybody coming back here to save us, it's our ancestors. Ain't nobody else coming to save us. That's no. No, quit fooling yourself. Quit believing the lie. It's over with now. The illusion is broken. You can just let your mind be free, honey. You can think for yourself now. Let the thoughts that you had when you were possibly younger or whatever, at any time in your life, and they were your own thoughts, even if it did seem like it was out in left field. Oh, go back to it. Go back to them times and stuff. Let your mind resonate with what's going on and stuff. Because the main thing is us, Black America. Keep our focus about us, honey. Because whatever the hell finna go down, make sure you survive. Black America, make sure your ass survive, honey. Sure will. Judgment being called. Everybody act like they don't know what's going on. Judgment is being called because of what's done happened to Black America and Black Africa. Black America and Black Africa. Everybody finna get their justice. Everybody finna get just due. Whatever is coming to them, everybody finna get it. Yep, because everybody been denying the truth, the slaughter. How could you do that? How could y'all do that to my people? So yeah, judgment being called, honey, and I'm saying spirit come through. Spirit come through. Yeah, it's time. They won't be denied no more. Sure won't. Chapter 15, the word on the street. Are we on 15? Yeah, I think we're on 15. Jomo Kenyatta of the Kikuyu people in Kenya was already in his 70s when Malcolm met him, but had been one day. Wait a minute, I'm fucking this up. My bad. Jomo Kenyatta of the Kikuyu people in Kenya was already in his 70s when Malcolm met him, but had been one of the early supporters of African unity. He had been in prison for years in Kenya for leading the feared Moo movement. M-A-U. Is it Moo or Mama? I'll just say Moo. Because that interstellar object I was telling you about in 2017, the name of that was a Moo. O-M-A-U. O-M-A-U. And this right here is Moo movement. M-A-U. Ain't that a coincidence? I think I'm saying it right, a Moo. But ain't that a coincidence? I mean, it's ironic. Confirmation. It's confirmation. All of this is, honey. Ooh, we are ancestors talking. Yes, honey. Milton Obote had led his country to independence and was also in favor of African unity. Some African leaders were particularly interested in what pressures could be brought to bear on world organizations to support the development of African countries below the Sahara, many of which had been recently freed from colonialism. These leaders also realized that African Americans, if represented as a group, would form by far the richest African country in the world. The leaders also realized that African Americans, if represented as a group, would form by far the richest African country in the world. By the middle of October, Malcolm had met with 11 heads of state in Africa, returning to the United States on Tuesday, the 24th of November, 1964. After meeting with the members of his Organization of Afro-American Unity, Malcolm held a press conference at the airport. He said that he had gathered support for an appeal to the United Nations on behalf of African Americans. He said that the United States had violated the human rights of African Americans. The FBI had reported on Malcolm's security arrangements, saying that approximately 15 to 20 MMI, that's Muslim Mosque Incorporated, members are expected to guard Malcolm X upon his arrival. Malcolm, in breaking with the Nation of Islam, had made many enemies within it and among some militant groups who resented the idea that Malcolm had now declared his willingness to work with all groups, including the more moderate ones. But he was also attracting a great deal of support from the members of the black middle class who had been put off by the Nation of Islam. Many professional writers were willing to help him put together a program and to help with organizational work. Other groups were approaching Malcolm, and he regarded them cautiously. Malcolm had been considered important enough by this time to be the subject of major magazine interviews and articles. The Saturday Evening Post did a long article on Malcolm toward the end of 1964, more or less synopsizing the autobiography that was being written by Alex Haley. In February, a second statement was issued from the Organization of Afro-American Unity. It contained another surprise. We, Afro-Americans, feel receptive toward all people of goodwill. We are not opposed to multi-ethnic associations in any walk of life. In fact, we have had experiences which enable us to understand how unfortunate it is that human beings have been set apart or aside from each other because of characteristics known as racial characteristics. There follows in the statement a rather long-winded explanation of why the Organization of African American Unity must be exclusively for people of African descent. But it is clear that Malcolm was saying that he was willing to work with whites. One reason for Malcolm's break with the Nation of Islam was his disappointment with his former friend and mentor, Elijah Muhammad. Malcolm had made a series of public statements about Elijah Muhammad, whose philosophy he had seemingly agreed with such a short time before. But Malcolm's dissatisfaction started long before his actual break with Elijah Muhammad. While still working under the banner of the Nation of Islam, he had grown away from its principles. Malcolm wrote an open letter to Elijah Muhammad, suggesting that the two men forget their differences and work toward their common goals. Malcolm had made both public and private offers of peace to Elijah Muhammad, and Elijah Muhammad did make a statement that he would be willing to forgive Malcolm, but no reconciliation took place. Both of these leaders were still getting mysterious death threats. Malcolm was taking a dangerous course, and he knew it. He felt that at least some of the death threats against him did come from members of the Nation of Islam. It didn't matter if Elijah Muhammad had sanctioned the threats or not. If someone wanted to harm him, it could still happen. The word on the streets of Harlem was somber. Malcolm, it was said, was marked for death. Whew, chapter 16. All right, y'all. This the assassination. That's it. Let's read. To come right down to it, if I take the kind of things in which I believe, then add to that the kind of temperament that I have, plus the 100% dedication I have to whatever I believe in, these are the ingredients which make it just about impossible for me to die of old age. And that's in the autobiography of Malcolm X. I don't have it, but I'm going to get it for us. Sometimes a certain kind of humor bounces around the streets of Harlem, making its way from stoop to street corner, from corner barber to barbershop, even to church basements where portly matrons admonish young members not to repeat it. It's not the kind of rumor shouted from the pavement to second-story windows, but the kind that is solemnly whispered. It is more than rumor. It is the word on the street. In February 1965, the word on the street was that Malcolm was going to be killed. In February, Malcolm had 4 children. His wife was pregnant with twin girls, Malika and Malak. They would be born the following fall. The morning of the 14th of February was cold. Malcolm was asleep. His oldest daughters were asleep in one bedroom, and his youngest daughter slept in the bedroom opposite Malcolm and Betty's. Something woke Malcolm, perhaps a noise, a feeling, as he lay in the darkness. Startled, He sprang up from where he lay. There was the sound of broken glass, and Malcolm called to his wife. The living room was on fire. Malcolm and Betty Shabazz gathered their children and ran out the back door. The first fire engines arrived at the Queen's house at 10 minutes to 3. The firemen put the fire out. The fire marshals the next day found that the bushes in front of Malcolm's house were scorched, as were the Venetian blinds that covered the broken rear window. There were broken bottles, some scorched in various parts of the house. Gasoline had been used in the front room, and there was a bottle of gasoline in the rear bedroom where Malcolm's older daughter slept. That's the bombing right there. That's the house. That's his house. And that's Malcolm. The day after Malcolm X's house was firebombed. That's what it said. Just the day after. The FBI report said that one of the investigators felt that Malcolm had an idea who set the fire, and that he had tried to frighten off the culprit with a pistol that misfired. Malcolm was badly shaken, and it was the opinion of the investigator that he needed medical help. A doctor was called, and Malcolm was sedated. The sedative made him drowsy, and he slept most of the rest of the day. Later that evening in Detroit, he apologized to his audience for his drowsiness. C. Eric Lincoln, in 1961, published a book, The Black Muslims in America. Lincoln had been hostile to the Muslim movement, but had brought about a great deal of understanding of the forces that created the movement. But now, with Malcolm divorced from the Nation of Islam, Lincoln had drawn closer to him. He asked Malcolm to come up to Brown University and talk to the students there. I tell you, Professor Lincoln, I may be dead on Tuesday, Malcolm said. Come on, Malcolm, cut the bullshit. Dr. Lincoln said, come on up and talk to these kids. When Dr. Lincoln realized that Malcolm was serious, he asked him why he didn't go to the police. They already know it, Malcolm answered. The Audubon Ballroom had been a vital part of the Harlem scene for decades. The big black bands had all appeared there. Rallies had been organized there. Dances and black tie fairs held there were reported on by the local press. On the 15th of February, Malcolm had spoken to nearly 600 people at the Audubon. On the 21st of February, less than a week later, he was scheduled to speak again. Malcolm was still building the Organization of Afro-American Unity, testing his ideas in this public forum, offering what he believed to be a new and vital vision to his people. It would be a vision that he could direct without the restricting concepts of the Nation of Islam and that organization's built-in limitations. Malcolm had heard the word on the street. He had heard the mocking phone calls that came to his house despite his unlisted number. He kept an automatic rifle, fully loaded and ready to use in self-defense. He checked the doors to make sure they were locked. He peered cautiously into the streets outside the Hotel Teresa where he was staying. These were streets he knew well, had walked down hundreds of times as a teenager, had spoken on as a man. Now they were streets to be feared. Malcolm, knowing that any speech, any meal, any minute might be his last, vowed to go on. Even going to the Audubon to speak to a crowd of followers who had come to hear him would be a risk, he knew. It was a fairly mild February afternoon. Black women in their wide Sunday hats, Bibles under their arms, headed home from Christian church services. Children played on the street. Outside, the Audubon police had put up barriers to control the expected crowds. In the backstage dressing room, Malcolm paced nervously, his mind torn between what he would say to the gathered audience and the hundreds of other pieces of business associated with the building of an organization. The audience filed in slowly, making their way down the aisle into the folding chairs that covered the dance floor. Many of the women, in modest Islamic tradition, wore long dresses. Friends greeted friends. There was a mention of the amount of police in front of the ballroom. Shortly before 3 p.m., Benjamin X took the microphone and greeted the audience. About 3:05, Malcolm came out on the stage. He gave the Muslim greeting. Assalamu alaikum. The greeting was returned by the audience. Wa alaikum salam. His voice was calm, deliberate. Malcolm began his speech. Brothers and sisters. There was a stillness in the audience as Malcolm's voice, clear and reassuring, started his message. Get your hand out my pocket. A man wearing a 3/4 length black leather coat jumped to his feet and yelled at the man next to him. Angry words were exchanged. Malcolm raised his hand and stepped from behind the podium, trying to calm things down. 2 security guards rushed toward the 2 men. Suddenly, the man who had stood first pulled something from his coat. The audience began to scatter. Watch out! Watch out! There was a series of shots in rapid order, and then a booming noise. Chairs was flying everywhere. People were screaming. Betty Shabazz was sitting in the front row. Her girls were wearing snowsuits, and she was trying to take them off when she heard the commotion. She pulled her children to her and tried to cover their bodies with her own. There's a bomb! There's a bomb! There were 2 men in front of Malcolm, and one of them was firing a pistol. 2 other men were firing from the side, one with a sawed-off shotgun. Malcolm's guards began to fire back. People were crawling along the floor, trying to stay out of the crossfire. Men was lying over the bodies of their wives, trying to protect them. In the lobby, a man with a .45 rushed toward the stairs, firing indiscriminately. One of Malcolm's followers slammed into him, knocking him down the stairs. The .45 fell from the man's hands as he tried to grab the banister for support. There was a scramble for the loose gun, and Malcolm's man got to it first and tried to fire it. Nothing. Reuben X, one of Malcolm's bodyguards, fired a shot at one of the 2 men who started the distraction in the first place and hit him in the leg. Outside the ballroom, police and passersby were startled as the crowd began to rush into the street. People pointed to a man with a gun, and he was wrestled to the ground. He was being punched and kicked as the police tried to prevent him from being killed. Reporters pushed through the crowd to phone in their stories. Inside the audience, a small gathering of people were on the stage. Some of them were crying. Betty Shabazz approached the still body of her husband. She was hoping. But in her heart, she knew the worst. A Japanese woman who brought her son to hear the speech cradled Malcolm's head in her hands. Someone asked if anybody had called for an ambulance. Between the living, frozen for a moment in shock and grief, lay Malcolm. The white shirt was opened by dark fingers looking for help. The holes darkened their grim pattern within the spreading stain, caused the hand to recoil. Gene Roberts, the undercover policeman, came to the stage. Lifting Malcolm's face to his, he tried to give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. The kiss of life came much too late. The people on the stage of the Audubon began to turn away, each to his or her own anguish. Malcolm was dead. Here's the picture of him on the stage. And that's the picture right there. You know, chapter 17. Yeah. A son is buried. Saturday morning, the 27th of February, 1965. In Harlem, the first light of day came grudgingly. Tenements that had been huddled in the grim darkness of morning now emerged like geometric specters against the cold gray sky. There was a stillness about the streets. People spoke in whispers. It was cold, bone-chillingly cold. Catch your breath and pull your collar tightly around your neck cold. But already the mourners had begun to line up for Malcolm's funeral. Duke Ellington had given the directions in his song. You must take the A train if you want to get to Harlem. The A train stopped at 145th Street and 8th Avenue. From there was a short walk to the Faith Temple Church of God on 147th in Amsterdam. Dan Watts, Malcolm's friend and advisor, noticed how many older women were standing in the line to take one last look at this son of Harlem. There were hundreds of police inside and outside of the church. People had never seen so many black policemen. On either side of Betty Shabazz, Malcolm's widow, stood a black plainclothes detective. Malcolm's body lay wrapped in the traditional white linen cloth of his faith. Beneath the glass shield of the casket, he seemed so very distant. In death, there was no sign of the youthfulness that had been so much part. In death, there was no sign of the youthfulness that had been so much a part of his living charm. The funeral was simple. Ossie Davis and his wife, Ruby Dee, read messages of condolence. Ossie delivered the eulogy. He spoke of Malcolm as the manhood of Black America. Then the casket was closed, and the procession to the cemetery began. And that's everybody lining up around the corners. And that's Sister right there. There goes Sister Betty. We're on chapter 18. Who killed Malcolm? At the scene of the murder, the police had captured a man named Thomas Hare. A few days later, Norman 3X Butler and Thomas 15X Johnson, both identified as being a part of the Nation of Islam, were also arrested. The police investigation continued. There were eyewitnesses to the assassination who identified the three shooters, but the detectives working on the case did not believe that they had acted on their own. Someone had arranged to have Malcolm murdered. Oh, that's a picture of him right there. That's Norman. That's Norman Butler, Thomas Johnson, and that's Thomas Hare. At the trial, there was a parade of witnesses who testified as to what happened that day in the Audubon Ballroom. The three defendants pled not guilty, ridiculing the prosecutor's accusations. Hare testified that he had found a .45 caliber pistol that had his fingerprints on it, that he had decided to keep it, and was on his way out of the ballroom when someone mistakenly accused him of the murder. He said that he was not in the Nation of Islam. Butler said that he didn't know anything about the murder, that he had not been at the ballroom. Johnson said that he had stayed home all day, that he had never even handled a rifle. As the case progressed, Hare changed his story. He said that he had actually been part of the assassination team and had fired at Malcolm, but that Butler and Johnson had not been there. Who were the others? The prosecutor asked. Hare said that he wouldn't reveal their names. He said that he had been hired by someone. Who hired you? The prosecutor asked. Hare said that he wouldn't reveal that either. He refused to reveal how much money he had been offered. On March 11, 1966, Hare, Norman 3X Butler, and Thomas 15X Johnson were all found guilty of murder in the first degree. On the 14th of April, they were all sentenced to life imprisonment. The three men would not become eligible for parole until late 1991. Who killed Malcolm and why? There were theories. Some said it was the Nation of Islam, worried that Malcolm's new organization would threaten its existence. Others said that it was a government plot, that Malcolm's views to international leaders posed a threat to the American social order. There are always theories about why black men who speak up for their people are killed or imprisoned. Malcolm understood this. He was not surprised that Marcus Garvey had been imprisoned and then deported. There were theories that Garvey was embezzling money from his organization, that he was participating in a stock fraud. Malcolm was not surprised that his father, Earl Little, had been killed or at the mystery surrounding his death. He might have been surprised to know that the FBI had correspondence in their files from his father concerning Garvey. He was not surprised that Medgar Evers had been killed or that his killer was never brought to justice. He would not have been surprised that Martin Luther King Jr. was killed or at the mystery surrounding his death. He would not have been surprised about the death of Fred Hampton of the Black Panthers, or even that the same man who had infiltrated the Organization of Afro-American Unity would one day infiltrate the Panthers. In an interview with journalist Carl Lewis in December 1964, Malcolm said, "You will find very few people who feel like I feel that live long enough to get old. I'll tell you what I mean and why I say that. When I say by any means necessary, I mean it with all my heart and my mind and my soul. But a black man should give his life to be free. But he should also be willing to take the life of those who want to take his. It's reciprocal. And when you think like that, you don't live long." Chapter 19. The legacy. Who was Malcolm X? And what is his legacy? Malcolm's life seems so varied. He did so many things over the far too short 39 years of his life that it almost appears that there was not one Malcolm at all, but four distinct people. But in looking at Malcolm's life and in examining the expectations against what he actually did, we see a blending of the four Malcolms into one dynamic personality that is distinctively American in its character. For only a black man living in America could have gone through what Malcolm went through. The first Malcolm was Malcolm the child, who lived in Nebraska and Michigan. He lived much like a million other black boys born in the United States. He was loved by two parents, Earl and Louise Little. From then, he learned about morality and decency and the need to do well in school. His parents gave him a legacy of love, but also a legacy of pride. Malcolm saw his father, a Baptist minister, at the meetings of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Even him speaking about the black race, saw him speaking about the black race and about the possibility of justice. From what the young Malcolm saw, from what he experienced as a young child, one might have expected him, upon reaching maturity, to become a religious man and an activist for justice, as was his father. Even when Earl Little was killed, Louise Little tried to hold the family together. Malcolm started school and did well. His mother saw to it that he did his assignments, and there was no doubt that Malcolm was bright. Bright children often understand their gifts, and it is possible that Malcolm understood his early on. He said in his autobiography that he had not given a lot of thought to what he wanted to do with those gifts when he was asked by a teacher in the 8th grade. A lawyer, he ventured. Malcolm had not known exactly what he wanted to do with his talents, but he understood that the talents he possessed were valued in his schoolmates. The teacher said to him that it was not practical for him to be a lawyer because he was black. The teacher probably thought of himself as being a realist. There's no misleading Malcolm, he probably thought. Where does a black teenage boy go? To what does he turn if he is not allowed the same avenues of values as his white friends? The second Malcolm answers that question. The black teenager goes among his people and searches among the values of his peers for those he can use. So Malcolm bought the zoot suit with the gold chain dangling against the pants leg. He bought the wide brimmed hat and learned the hip jargon of the street, the same way teenagers today buy the gold chains and the sneakers that cost enough to feed a family for a week. Malcolm was a human being, and human beings need to be able to look into the mirror and see something that pleases them. What had value in the American society that Malcolm knew? What had value in the American society that Malcolm knew? The conch had value, burning your hair until it was tortured enough to approximate the appearance of a white man's hair. Malcolm said that he wanted to be a lawyer, to use his mind. He was told that no, he couldn't do that because he was black. Perhaps it wouldn't have made any difference what the teacher had said, as was the case with so many black teenagers. Malcolm's family, now with only a mother to support it, would not have been able to afford college for him. Malcolm toughened himself. He used his mind. If he couldn't use it to study law, he would use it in street hustles. He used it in making money the way people in the inner cities who don't have downtown jobs make money. Eventually, he used it to commit burglaries. Some societies never learned that to make a person socially responsible, you must first include him or her in your society. And this is Malcolm right here, surrounded by the Nation of Islam, the brothers. Malcolm's career as a petty criminal, much sensationalized in the autobiography he never got to read, ended quickly when he was caught, tried, and sentenced to 8 to 10 years in prison. The second Malcolm, the one using his wits to survive on the streets, skirting both sides of the law, might have continued after he was released if it was not for the Nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad claimed that he lifted Malcolm up and saved him from a life of degradation. Nothing was more truthful. The Nation of Islam, with its strict moral codes, its religion, its understanding, forgiveness, and even celebration of black men who had fallen by the wayside, was the garden from which the third Malcolm emerged. Here now was Malcolm, the religious man, the activist, the thinker, the man who stood up for his people, who confronted the forces of injustice in America at a time when black people were being beaten in the streets, were being publicly humiliated, and even killed. Here was a Malcolm who offered himself as the voice of the defeated, the manliness of a people who badly needed manliness. Where's our manliness now? And he was a worker. He organized and preached. He cajoled and threatened. He attacked racism with the biting tone of the absolute Senate, vowing to attain freedom by any means necessary and with any sacrifice. He understood, as few other leaders did, that there were people like himself in the streets and in the prisons who had contributions to make. He included people in the struggle for human rights in America who had never, ever before been included. This was the third Malcolm. Malcolm grew. He grew away from the Nation of Islam and away from the separatist philosophy of that organization. The Nation of Islam had returned to him the wings that had been taken from him because of his color. And Malcolm, the fourth Malcolm, found himself able to fly. What one would have expected, or at least hoped for, on meeting the wide-eyed boy in the Pleasant Grove Elementary School, was that he would one day touch the edge of greatness. It is what we wish for all our children. The fourth Malcolm, the one with his head slightly bowed as he listened to Jomo Kenyatta, the great African leader, the one learning firsthand about the liberation of the African continent so that he could liberate his own, had touched the edge of that greatness. Malcolm's life was about growth, about the intensely changing man that moved from Malcolm's life was about growth, about the intensely changing man that moved from thievery to honesty, from being a racial separatist to searching for true brotherhood, and from atheism to Islam. But his life was also about the return of the idealism of his childhood. The world of the child before he or she is exposed to racism, before he or she is conditioned to react to the hurts inflicted on him, or her, is the one of acceptance and love. Malcolm had grown, and in that growing had learned to accept those people, regardless of race or nationality, who accepted and loved him. Malcolm spoke for the voiceless, for the people from whom not even some black leaders wanted to hear from. He spoke for the jobless and for the homeless people. He spoke for the young men whose hard bodies that could perform miracles on inner city basketball courts, were not wanted in America's offices. He spoke for the millions of black Americans who saw themselves as a minority in the world in which most of the inhabitants were people of color, like themselves. He spoke for the men and the women who had to turn to many other cheeks. He spoke for the men and the women who had to turn too many other cheeks, had to fight off too many insults with nothing but smiles. Malcolm had walked in their shoes, and they knew it when they heard him speak. Thurgood Marshall, civil rights lawyer and later Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall, civil rights lawyer and later Supreme Court Justice, understood the court system and the importance of having a legal basis for protest. He understood that for years, racists and their supporters could simply hide behind the issue of legality, claiming that the only reason schools were segregated, the only reason housing was denied blacks, the only reason it was difficult to vote in certain places was because of certain laws that had been on the books for years and then worked to prevent changes in the law. Martin Luther King Jr. knew the power of public persuasion. Racists and bigots wanted to look as if they were in the right. They wanted their families and friends to think that they were protecting Southern women or law and order, or even something as vague as a way of life. He understood that nonviolence, in the wake of police dogs and fire hoses, would attract the favorable world opinion of African Americans. Just a minute here. Let me see. But Malcolm, coming from the awareness of the Garvey tradition and coming from the same street corners on which he would later fish for the dead, having experienced the same hunger, the same frustrations, even the same jails as poor blacks did, understood something else as well, that all the goals of the mainstream civil rights movement, the civil rights laws, school integration, voting rights, none of these would have meaning if African Americans still thought of themselves as a racially crippled people, if they still walked with their heads down because they was black. In the last year of his life, having grown away from the Nation of Islam and having made a spiritual pilgrimage to Mecca, Malcolm was moving both to a new and an old place. In the last year of his life, having grown away from the Nation of Islam and having made a spiritual pilgrimage to Mecca, Malcolm was moving both to a new and an old place. He was moving more solidly into Pan-Africanism, the territory that his father had explored over 40 years before. Malcolm's message is remembered by many people who find comfort and inspiration in it today. One of them is the African-American poet, Wapashitwe Mondo Even. Wapashitwe Mondo Even. Wapashitwe Mondo Ian Wilanga, who wrote the poem Great Battlelor, Bateleur. A battlelor is a reddish-brown eagle found in Africa. It is notable for its acrobatic flying style and its ferocious cry as it dives to capture its prey. Great Battlelor, in tribute to Malcolm. We were pigeons, Malcolm, congregating at the park benches of America, to peck at the crumbs of America's wealth. But you were a battlelor. You did not coo at men's feet, gratefully bobbing your head for castaway scraps. We were wrens and sparrows, good survivors, good at nervous flight from any sound and sight of fearsome threat. We could not, would not hold our ground and fight. Perhaps you feared like us, but you did not quiver, but thrust forward sharp talons boldly. Yours were not the frantic chirpings but the righteous clamor of indignation. We were ducklings waddling in shame, thinking ourselves ugly, seeking disguise in feathers that were foreign to us. But you hid yourself from no one, but smiled in the daylight, stretching your wings to soar. We were those who begged, Malcolm, who could not find courage, nor faith in ourselves. We who could not peer into reflective pools, nor look into each other's face and see the beauty that was ours. But for you, Malcolm, but for you, great battle lord, eagle of Africa, still your spirit flies. That is so beautiful and deep. I never heard it. The only thing I know of Malcolm is that Wu-Tang Clan. That's the only tribute I know, I think, to Malcolm. It's a lot of them, but I mean poetry. I'm gonna see if I can find some more. Yeah. Perhaps history will tell us that there was nothing. Perhaps history will tell us that there was no wrong strategies in the civil rights movement of the 60s. That all factors involved, the pray-ins, the legal cases, the marches, the militancy, were all vital to the time. That each had its place. Undoubtedly, too, as current needs color memories of distant events, we will bring different concepts from that period of American history and different voices too. One voice that we will never, ever, ever, Black America, forget is that of El Haj Malik El Shabazz, the man we call Malcolm, our Malcolm. Don't you ever forget Malcolm. I don't care what they do, what they take you through, what it be like. Oh, this is the chronology. And I'm just going to read it down here. Yep. On May 19th, 1925, Malcolm Little was born in Omaha, Nebraska. The stock market crashes to record lows on October 29th, 1929. Earl Little, Malcolm's father, is run over by a streetcar and dies in Lansing, Michigan. His death may have been caused by a white supremacist group. That was on September 28, 1931. The Great Depression was 1929 and 1942. And then, let me see, the Scottsboro case was March 25th, 1931. 9 black boys are falsely accused and arrested for rape. 1938 to 1941, Malcolm lives in various foster homes in Lansing, Michigan. World War II, 1939 and 1945. January 9th, 1939, Louise Little, Malcolm's mother, is committed to a state mental hospital in Kalamazoo, Michigan. On December 7, 1941. Oh, wait a minute, let me go on down to Malcolm's here. On February of 1941, Malcolm moves in with his sister Ella in Boston, Massachusetts. In December 7, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, prompting the United States to enter World War II. March 16, 1964, forms new organization. Malcolm forms a new organization, the Muslim Mosque Incorporated. March 26, 1964, Malcolm meets Martin Luther King Jr. May 21st, 1964, Malcolm completes pilgrimage to Mecca, returns as El Haj Malik El Shabazz with new ideas. June 28, 1964, Malcolm announces formation of the secular organization of Afro-American Unity, the Long Hot Summer. The Long Hot Summer riots in various cities. Oh, my ancestors. Here it is right here. Yep, Red Summer. Oh, no, that's two different ones. This right here was 1919. We got to get the Long Hot Summers. That was July 1964 to August 1964. And then the Civil Rights Act, 1964, was passed on July the 2nd, 1964. Now let's get back to Malcolm. December 1964, his fourth daughter, Gamilla, is born. February 14th, 1965, his house in Queens is firebombed. February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X is assassinated while delivering a speech in Harlem's Audubon Ballroom. In the fall of 1965, twin daughters Malek and Malika are born. March the 11th, 1966, Talmadge Hare, Norman 3X Butler, and Thomas Johnson, 15X Johnson, are convicted of first-degree murder in the shooting death of Malcolm X. April 14, 1966, Hare, Butler, and Johnson are sentenced to life in prison. We did it. That's it. We did it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all. I really do. Thank y'all so much. We did another book. We read another book. Well, I think we just gonna end this here. I don't think I'm gonna keep y'all any longer and stuff. I'm finna go see. I guess I'll see what's going on and stuff with the Oh, what is this? Oh, good day, Cow Dog. It's so good to see you and Vicky. I know that's right. Free your mind and your ass will follow. Moo Moo. Yeah, I think it's Moo Moo. They seem like the same. Malcolm X was exactly like Apostle Paul. Malcolm X persecuted his own people with that Muslim bullshit, just like Saul did to the Israel. Malcolm was about to turn the corner. 1960, just before he was killed. Who was Lucifer, Satan, Pocahontas, the devil? This cost for a mind of wisdom, whoever has insight, 1968, circulate the number of the beast. It is of the number of a man. His zip code is 60615, Book of Revelation. They seem to always have photographers everywhere. I know that's right. Ain't that the truth? Even Malcolm was standing at the window in his house with a rifle. I question a lot of what we have been presenting about this. Me too. I did see a documentary some years ago, but I tell Chris crawling grass at 900. Mm-hmm. Well, I thank you, family, for being here. And we finished this book right here. And I'm just going to see what's going on with Defiant Lawyers Network. I know another executive order was passed. But I really can't say what it did. Of course, it's extreme. It's another loss, which is what Project 2025 is about. So, it's that's why I got to print that off and stuff. But it's like $92 to print it off. Yeah, y'all just keep working on your gardens and stuff. Keep working on your gardens and getting your pantry and stuff together and your foods and stuff like that, because we don't know what the hell finna happen. And then I seen brother talking about they making super babies, honey. These people want to have super babies. Who the hell? You ain't even got to get pregnant no more. You just, you ain't even got to get pregnant no more. They got like little eggs, like little incubators shaped like an egg, and the baby growing inside of that. I told you years ago, like a decade ago, I seen something like that, and they were real eggs. They were eggs, and they were sitting in the people's living room in the corner. And the baby, the light was on, it was beeping. The baby was growing, and it had like them things that you change your oil with, the filter. That's how you feed it. You just go up there and squeeze, put it in there and turn it, click it in, and it's feeding the baby. And once the baby grown, there you go, you got your baby. But you over there working on the computer and stuff, watching TV, looking at the baby over there, the baby growing in the incubator. Anti-life. All of this is anti-life, Black America. Keep your eyes on the prize, please. We got to put our ancestors in this. We need our ancestors in our life, like right now. Cosmic energy, Mother Gaia. You got to get real now. You got to get real now. Start calling on cosmic energy. Be a little bit more specific. I don't know what y'all doing, but it ain't been working. So you're going to have to, elevate your greetings too. Elevate your greetings, because see, in my opinion, it must be the mental manipulation. It's done weakened. You calling on that cat. We calling on the cat. We need a dog, Black America. We need a dog. We need to call on our ancestors. Call on cosmic energy that you know is there. You calling on your higher power and stuff, and you got this white man envisioned in your life. You got to get away from all of that. You got to. Now, cosmic energy it's all of it. It's just one. It's real simple. It's going to change and clarify everything. Cosmic energy. It's going to be every name that I was telling you about. Krishna, Buddha, Zoroaster, Dionysus, Tamun, Horus. It's going to be everybody and stuff, you know. So, yeah, you got to do something, Black America. And Mother Gaia, learn about your divinity, Black America. It's some things happening now that is trying to take our focus away. Hell, I don't know if a meteor or a missile finna come because so much has been done to my people. See, so much has been done to Black America and Black Africa, and now some shit finna go down. Motherfucking payback is finna happen. You know, and not only that, to not have no remorse, to keep on being anti-life to the planet, to the beautiful animals of the planet. The poor animals ain't done nothing to nobody, just living the cycle of life. Yeah, when the hippopotamus or the lion get the little deer that's trying to get some water and stuff, that's the cycle of life. That's the cycle of life. But to just start killing whole animal species and stuff like that and polluting this planet, cutting the trees down and stuff like that, those are limbs. The planet is alive, and now she done woke up. Mother Gaia done woke up, Black America. This is way bigger than anything. We, at this point, we can't even ask for mercy to these people that have done these things. We cannot. You ask for mercy for them, you gonna get it, Black America. It ain't no, oh yeah, we all one. We all gonna just be one and together. And everybody forgive and forget. You can't forgive and forget. Your ass gonna have to wake the fuck up, Black America. You gonna have to wake the fuck up. And I know you thinking that, yeah, we still going to heaven and stuff. Why would you? You done learned a little bit that it should be encouraging you to think for yourself. Why would you want to go to heaven once you learn the things that you learning now? The things that are miraculously being revealed to us. Why would you still want to go? Knowing that now that's the craziest shit I ever seen. This was too, wasn't it? That's your Jesus right there. I freed them. Yes, honey, when I read that 100 years of lynching, I told everybody they can go on and leave heaven. You ain't even going. I'm not going to trap you in heaven no more. I'm not. No, not face. I told all of them they can leave. Honey, they wings, it came out. They wings sprouted back out, honey. You should have seen them getting up out of heaven. Honey, everybody was gone. Little babies, kids, Emmett Till, Mary Turner and her baby, Medgar Evers, everybody got up out of there. Sure did, because they had the protection of cosmic energy when their life was cut short. And they didn't know. We just now, recently, I'm just now finding out about Yahushua and Yahweh. I didn't even know anything about all of this religion and stuff. I didn't know about 4,200 religions. I didn't know about Asar, Aset, and Heru, Ben, Mary, Joseph, and the baby. I didn't know none of that. I didn't know about all of this stuff. No, I knew who Malcolm was, you know, but I didn't know the deaths of nothing. We never do know the deaths of nothing. But now that I do, I ain't going to heaven with white folks. No, I'm going to the afterlife. I'm going to the afterlife. You see that up there? There go heaven right there. That's heaven right there. I'm going all the way down to the afterlife. I'm going to the 12th of never because of this right here. In my opinion, it ain't been no justice on this planet. Ain't been no justice on this planet. I believe my mama. My mama ain't never lied to me. And my mama told me that if you repent and you got remorse, you don't never do the like and same ever again, God will forgive you. But he know you got to be sincere. You can't fool God. No, you cannot fool God. You got to be sincere. He'll forgive you and give you another chance. She sure did. I believe her too. So all these people that done repented and asked God, they lying asses, done asked God to forgive them. We don't know about all of them, how they lived a long life, though. You can bet your ass that they lived a long motherfucking life, just like Carolyn Bryant did. Yeah, that cancer ate her ass up, but she got some relief when they got her the what they call that stuff that they give you, morphine and stuff like that. She got some relief. She also said she was sorry to God. She didn't ever get no apology to Emmett's mama, to Mamie. She never give no apology to her, no word, no closure, no nothing to our sister about Emmett. To us either. We lost a son. Black people did. 14 years old. So horrific. So no, and wasn't nothing done. All of this ain't nothing ever been done here, but everybody lived their life like it was golden. Live their motherfucking life like it was goddamn it golden. And you know they did. You know they did, Black America. Then when they got up there in heaven and stuff, and my people is there too. No, it don't fly with me. I'm creating my own right now. I'm creating my own life, my own afterlife too. I sure am. And I suggest your ass do the same. I suggest, I don't care, that's you. You gonna live your forever and ever and ever and ever, and then realize somewhere along the way and all that trappings and stuff that you wanna get outside the pearly white gates. Sometimes you might want to get outside the pearly white gates. What say you got to stay inside the pearly white gates? Ain't no back door on it anyway, cause it ain't your vision. White folks came up with heaven. Ain't no back door on heaven. Heaven just is bland and plain, just like white folks' ass is. And you don't see no rainbows in the skies. You don't see no birds in the skies and stuff. You is in heaven. You said ain't no hunger, no pain. Can it be a little life, colorful? What is it? Just the gates and all that cotton. Just the gates and all that cotton, and you want to go there. You done forgot about everything. You want to go there. But honey, when we read Robert Sandler, his true story, because you know Robert said he wanted to tell it. He had forgot. You know how he forgot? Religion. Remember Robert became religious? Remember Robert became religious? When he became religious, he forgot that he was a slave. He forgot all about that torture and trauma that he endured. And his sisters, remember his sisters, his baby sister, his oldest sister, the youngest one died. Margie didn't. I think her name was Ella Pearl. Remember Pearl? The master and the white men and stuff raped Pearl. She was 15, raped her and beat her with kicking her and burning her and stuff. And then they sent her because she stayed in the house. But see, Robert had started being rebellious. He was getting restless and stuff, didn't want to be there and stuff. So they sent Robert to the back to the quarters and stuff. But Pearl was still at the house because she was the house slave. And they raped her and beat her and stuff, and she was always disfigured the rest of her life and stuff. And then they sent her back to the slave quarters once they did that to her. And when the rain and stuff came, she still had to go out there and pick cotton. And you know, her body never did heal. So being out there in all that mud, that motherfucking mud, in them fields and shit, and she getting wet because it be raining and stuff, and her feet just always stay so wet. Like it wouldn't dry out. So she got better for a minute there because it had been summertime and it was, you know, the sun was good for her and stuff like that. But once the rainy season came and then the winters and stuff, and she didn't have no protection from it and stuff like that. But Robert forgot about all of that when he became religious. When he got to religion, he became religious. Robert walked away from that plantation. His daddy sold him into slavery. Yep. Robert walked away off the plantation when he was like maybe 13. I think somewhere like that right there. But he ended up going back to the master then because he felt like he didn't belong nowhere. And he would want to go back to his daddy master. But by that time, all the other slaves was gone and free. And the master was bedridden. The kids, they had grew up and stuff. They were working in the field. But the missus wouldn't let him see her and stuff and ran him off. So, he had to go and stuff. But religion make y'all ass motherfucking forget. That's why you don't remember nothing. Religion done made you totally plumb motherfucking forget. Willingly. You don't even know it. You're doing it so willingly and stuff. But anyway, Robert said, I'm not the only one who went through it. But I can't hold still no longer. I'm going to have to tell it. I thought I had forgotten, but I haven't. Help me remember it, Lord, so I could tell it. Oh, Lord, help me remember. He wanted to tell his story of enslavement. But anyway, what I was saying, Robert had to take care of the kids. He was young himself. When he was sold into slavery, he was 5. But he had to take care of the white kids and stuff. There were 3 of them, especially the little one, Anna. And when they would be studying about church and stuff, and, of course, their ass would be the teacher, the pastor and stuff, and he would be the slave and stuff. Well, Robert had told the mother when she found out that he was partaking in that and stuff, and he was learning to read a little bit, so they were mad and stuff. But then Robert was like, well, I want to go to heaven too. And I'm learning to read, and we're all going to be in heaven together. And the woman told Robert, well, if you're in heaven, if niggers are in heaven, then you're slaves, you're servants to white people. But he forgot all of that. So, I just ask you, Black America, to start thinking. Start using your common sense about things. It ain't even no time. Birth to you, you timeless. You are timeless. This whole illusion, so you don't know who you are, what you are, why you here. Why you here on this planet? Y'all, we're here on this planet to have black babies. We're here on this planet to have black babies and to heal black people. Them the only 2 reasons your black ass is here. To heal black people, because we need healing. We need healing. And to have black babies. Have black babies. I mean, you're the parent of all people, for crying out loud. You're the parent of all people. You didn't protect the animals. Your Bible, you always talking about, we know the Bible's about us, face. You just saying the same old thing. Well, I want to say this, you didn't protect the animals. Didn't the Bible say I give you dominion over the animals? You didn't protect them animals. You did not protect them. The Bible said that you're supposed to call out those that's doing wrong to the chosen animals and people, the chosen people, the vulnerable, the meek, the weak. You supposed to call them out. You ain't even done none of that and stuff. You ain't just sat there and memorized the Bible and what white folks told you to focus on. You ain't read between the lines. Nope. You ain't took no annotations of your own. My frequent thoughts. How you got frequently asked questions. My frequently asked thoughts. You ain't had no critical thinking or nothing. Then y'all want to have Bible study 3 times a week. And ain't nobody talking about nothing different. Nothing different. Not for black people, not for us. Not for us. See, our ancestors, our elders knew that they had to go along with Christianity. They had to go along with Christianity. But they knew that the overall purpose was don't let go of who we are. Let's not let go of who we are now. When we are talking and congregating and stuff, we can at least be honest with us. Now, y'all know all of these agendas is against us. Y'all know this law, this law, this law, and this law is against us. And what's going to happen when it happens. But you can't do that because you're too afraid. Oh, there's Sabrina over there. Karen. Hey, Mrs. Ken. It's so good to see y'all here today. Your black ass is scared to stand up for yourself because you done let everybody in. You done let everybody in on you and shit. Now your motherfucking ass is scared to stand up and say, hey, we got to fix this. Executive order after executive order after executive order being passed on your ass right now, right today. Ain't nobody, the churches need to be coming together like white on rye right about now. Put that damn rice in a bowl with some water and see which ones float to the top. because that's going to be plastic. Take it out. I'm just saying, Black America, don't be a fool and a dummy. Do not be a fool and a dummy for once in your life before whatever hit Eminem, a missile, or a goddamn meteor hit this motherfucker. Stand up for something for your babies. Hell, ain't nobody giving a goddamn about y'all ass, about us, but our babies. And we see all the love and gentleness. They trust us in their little eyes, and they such innocent babies and stuff, you know. Our babies ain't no sinners. That's a goddamn lie. Them babies ain't no sinners, and you know. Dr. Ray Hagen's already told us. The sinners, y'all, Black America. The sinners is not our babies. No. Honey, if it is a sinner now, I don't know. I can't tell you right now if them other babies is still like, what's the little girl name? Louisiana or not? I don't know. I know one thing, Black people ain't never had no babies that tell no childrens, that tell they daddy to go cut off somebody's ears and get them a slave from the next county. You had a little girl. Louisiana Burwell was like many other white girls growing up in slave-holding households in Linsville, North Carolina area in 1847. She loved flowers and often strolled through her parents' garden with Fanny, the enslaved woman charged with her care. After spending so much time with Fanny, Louisiana developed an intense bond with her. But one day, Louisiana became vexed. Her little bad ass vexed. Became vexed with Fanny. So she went to her father and demanded that he cut Fanny's ears off and get her, Louisiana, a new maid from Clarksville. Louisiana was 3 years old. Now I ask you again, Black America, if you can imagine any baby being a sinner, why? Quit falling for everything. Believe in everything that they tell you. Because I believed it too for 43 years of my life. Sure did, honey. I believed it because my mom and them believed it. Everybody did and stuff. So I was like, yeah, all right, this must be true then. I can believe it. I'm going to heaven as long as I make it to heaven. But no, not no more. We got new knowledge now. Fuck the dumb shit. We got new knowledge now, honey. This right here is our Jesus. That's our Jesus right there. You see that cross under him? It's time to start thinking about these things. Ask your pastor. On y'all next get together and stuff, the pastor need to be letting everybody sit down and put it on the big screen. Watch Dr. Ray Hagens and stop bullshitting. Stop goddamn it bullshitting with Black people and watch Dr. Ray Hagens. Hell, ain't nobody got no more time for y'all to keep misleading us and not telling us the truth. You ain't even told us about divinity. Why y'all pastors ain't told us about divinity? We need to know the understanding of the cosmology and the ecology and our relationship to it. Why y'all didn't tell us? Y'all ain't told us nothing. I'm just saying, if you want to do something now, then now is the goddamn time to do it. Shit, quit playing with us and stuff out here and stuff, acting like it don't even matter. Just sacrificing us. Yeah, we'll sacrifice them. What you gonna give us? We'll sacrifice them. Yeah, sure. Just sacrifice Black America like it ain't nothing. Like ain't nothing gonna happen. Y'all know karma real. Sure will. Spirit come through. Spirit come through. You better get out the way, Black America, because what's gonna happen is gonna happen. Just you prepare yourself. Be getting your stuff together that we've been talking about. Yeah, be getting your stuff together, you know, that we've been talking about. We don't know how it's going to be. This is unprecedented. Ain't nobody ever been through none of this. Sure ain't. The meteor, ain't been through no meteor, ain't been through no missile, ain't been through the jabs. People ain't been through this shit growing in their body and shit. People ain't been through stuff like that. That's something new. See? And if it had once before and stuff, people don't remember. I didn't know. I didn't know about none of this stuff. But as far as I know, all of this is unprecedented and stuff. And why? Just fucked up. But yeah, let's get on up out of here. Y'all, yeah, process this. You know, to process this, we process everything. I do. I have to process everything. And I want you to process everything too. Because I don't want you to get out tomorrow and stuff, and this still be on you. You still be thinking, and then, you got new knowledge and stuff. So, because I didn't go into debt about this right here after what I heard on that documentary and stuff, because it was a long time ago anyway. And I'm really not sure of how to say it anyway. So I just leave the book where the book was at. But I love y'all. Just process this, and go to sleep with some gratitude tonight. I am going to sleep with some gratitude and a song in my heart. I might listen to me some music tonight, but maybe not, because I probably been too loud already, ain't it shit? I have they motherfucking ass over here listening to the Wu-Tang Clan, Wu Revolution. I sure would. Some goddamn it funkadelic up in here. I'm just saying. I love y'all. Peace and power to the people. And I see you on the next page. I will see you on the next page.